Guys,
Good afternoon to everyone.
yep. Come back to another episode of Our Three Cents and starting our next series like we promised in the last video.
Yeah, we actually did what we said we were going to do. Shocking,
I know.
right? If you remember watching from the last video, we're starting a five-part series on the featured works of Trey Parker and Matt Stone.
Yep.
And this week we are starting at the beginning. We're going to try to do these in order of how they were done. So maybe we can discuss on how they've gotten more mature and better as filmmakers
Yeah.
over the years between 1993 when this first movie came out and was it 2003? 2006, 7? 2007?
No, I think it was like 2004.
Okay, 2004. Yeah.
Yeah, something like that.
So we're going to discuss the 20-year career
Yep.
of these budding filmmakers.
Fine, upstanding gentlemen of Hollywood.
Yes,
Everybody loves these guys.
exactly.
Apparently, especially Lloyd Kaufman.
Yeah, because we are going to discuss, first of all, Cannibal the musical.
Mm-hmm.
It is a trauma release, so if that tells you anything,
Not a trauma production, though.
non-trauma production, yeah. Lloyd Kaufman just said, hey, I'll put it out.
Because nobody else would.
Exactly.
Apparently, they took this movie everywhere, and nobody would release it.
And it was actually released like 3 years after it was made.
Yeah.
Well,
They shot this while they were still in school,
yeah.
1993,
Yep.
while they were still in film school. Because apparently a lot of people in it were professors.
Exactly. It must have been a little later than 2006 because they didn't release this until after South Park had started. And South Park started in, I think, in 1997. I remember the first time I ever watched South Park, it was when you could only watch it on the internet. So it wasn't even on Comedy Central yet.
Yeah. Yeah, 97 seems right, because they just finished 17th season.
I think so.
Yeah.
So that'd be about right.
Yeah.
So, Cannibal the musical, and it is a musical. It's not just a clever title. It is a musical.
Yeah.
It is a nice throwback to the musicals of the 50s and 60s, Oklahoma,
Mm-hmm.
and what's that one I'm thinking of? And those other ones
Yeah.
that are musicals. Those other musicals that are musicals.
Yeah. The ones with no titles.
Yeah.
That's why we're not saying them.
Yeah.
This was an interesting one for me because this is actually the only Parker and Stone movie that I had not seen. I had never seen this, and I've been meaning to get around to watching it ever since I moved here, but I hadn't yet, so this was a good way for me. So it was good to finally see it. It was nice to be able to see where these guys started, and bonus, it was a trauma release. I like anything that trauma puts out, even though it's not a trauma production. It still has that feel and sensibility to it. Sensibility in the fact that they don't care.
Yeah.
And that's what I love about trauma.
And surprisingly, for a trauma film and something called Cannibal the musical, it's really not that gory.
No, not
There's
really.
a couple of scenes, just the one flashback scene at the very beginning of the movie
What's the
where there's
main
any
thing?
kind of gore.
Yeah. it's pretty low key
And
for
low
that.
budget.
Oh gosh, yes.
This was like I said, he said this was shot while they were attending University of Colorado Boulder, and you can definitely tell
Oh yeah.
that it is shot on a student filmmaker's budget, being that there was no budget.
Oh my gosh. Oh, some of it was so bad. I mean, some of it they made it okay, but there was a couple of scenes where you could just tell, like when they're walking around in modern jeans and belts and shoes, with jackets that at least look like they're from that era, but then, I mean, really, you're wearing acid-washed jeans.
And the era we're talking about is not 1993. We're talking about 1873.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
to put it into perspective, takes place in the late 1800s.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, that's kind of distracting a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit.
But then you have to think that this is not a major production.
Yeah. If they did this now, then
It probably wouldn't be the exact same. It probably
Probably
would
would be.
still be the same.
it really probably would be. Yeah, maybe a little bit higher budget.
But still,
CG blood instead of
practical effects.
yeah, that'd probably be the only difference.
Yeah.
It would still be just as terrible.
Yeah. And when we're saying it's bad, I mean it's bad.
Yeah, it really
It's not as bad as some of the bad horror flicks from the 80s, but or even the bad horror movies of now. But it's not a good movie.
No, but it was intentional, obvious. I mean, some of it was obviously intentional.
If you look at it through the eyes of these are first-time filmmakers, and the only thing they had done before this was The Spirit of Christmas,
Mm-hmm.
which, if you know what The Spirit of Christmas is, and if you're a South Park fan, you obviously know what Spirit of Christmas is, but Spirit of Christmas is the very first South Park-esque
Anything.
This is what the show was based on.
Yeah, and it wasn't even meant really to be South Park. It's just it was a student project.
It was a student animated Christmas card,
Yeah,
basically.
and they just happened 7 years later to turn that into South Park.
Yeah.
So,
Um,
but you also got to remember that you got to look at it not only through the eyes of this is a movie from student filmmakers. This is a movie from student filmmakers that just happen to be Matt Stone and Trey Parker.
so it is irreverent.
It's irreverent. It's not great. The acting is not great in it, and they just don't care who they offend.
Yeah, this is the starting of it.
Yeah.
When they run into the Indian tribe, and it's all Japanese people.
Who were all Japanese students that Matt Stone or Trey Parker went to class with because he majored in Japanese.
Yeah, he has a double major in theater and Japanese. So.
Yeah. But oh my gosh, that
But you
scene was
do
just
see
so great.
you do see the beginnings of the style.
Oh yeah, very much so.
Trey and Matt.
Jokes that don't make sense,
Mm-hmm.
jokes that are only half of a joke and they never finish it,
Yeah.
Offending whoever they feel like it. Although there wasn't quite as much of that in here.
No.
In this, it's not quite offending people as much as
One of those like, oh.
yeah. Some of it is almost like it almost felt like they were setting up for a joke that they never finished. Like with the Japanese Indians.
Yeah.
It's like that whole thing was meant to be a joke, but they never like gave any sort of punchline.
No.
They just kind of let it be.
Let it open and let you interpret it the way you want to.
Yeah, you know, they weren't offensively done. They weren't crudely done.
Mhm.
They were just Japanese Indians. Take what you want out of it.
Yes.
And that's great.
The movie is based loosely on the trial of an actual person that this happened to. Trey Parker as Juan. What did they say his name was?
The real guy,
Yeah, well, it's based on
Alfred Packer.
Alfred Packard, who is the only person to ever be convicted of cannibalism ever in the United States. And so even like like the court, the scenes in the courtroom were based on transcripts from the trial.
Mm-hmm.
And believe it or not, Trey Parker actually goes by the pseudonym Juan Schwartz, which is an alias of Packer,
The real life person.
the real life person. So, I mean, this was based on true events. It's just done in
A
Trey Parker, Matt Stone type of way.
yeah.
I don't know how else you can describe.
It's almost like it's meant to be a parody, but it's not.
Yeah.
But it's almost set up like that, with the randomness and the songs.
The terrible songs.
Oh God, the songs were so awful. I mean, I loved it, but they were just so bad.
When they're in the midst of dying and they break out into a song called Let's Build a Snowman.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And don't forget the Power Love Ballad.
Oh my God. About a horse.
About a horse.
About a horse. Oh. Ridiculous.
Yes.
That's the only word that I can think of to describe this movie. It is just ridiculous.
Yeah. But it was entertaining. I mean,
It is entertaining.
if you take away the part that it's a bad movie, it's entertaining. It is entertaining.
Uh-huh.
I mean, it's one of those that we would kind of describe as a Netflix,
Yeah.
a bad Netflix movie.
Yeah. It's trauma.
Yeah. I mean,
It's bad, but you're going to be entertained watching it. You're either going to just genuinely enjoy it, or you're just going to be able to laugh at how terrible it is. And this was kind of a mixture of both.
cast in it, I mean, it's a lot of unknowns because there were a lot of their classmates and friends. Obviously Trey Parker, obviously Matt Stone. Another big name in there is Dean Basher, who was in Orgasmo and Basketball, obviously because he's friends with them. He's done South Park episodes with them. The lady who played the reporter, Toddy Walters.
Again, same thing. She
Yeah.
was in Orgasmo, South Park, Basketball.
Dated.
Matt Stone for a while, or one of them.
Yeah, dated one of them. I think it was Trey Parker.
Yeah.
Dated Trey Parker. So I mean, they've kept up with their friends and helping their friends out in
Yeah.
making them be in the movies with them,
Which is good.
which
Yeah.
is which is very just like any other directors that you would have.
Yeah. They're very much. They've kind of gone about things the Kevin Smith way.
Yes.
In a lot of ways.
Started with nothing. Making a movie just because they want to make a movie with their friends.
Yep. And then they continued to do the same thing, even though they just had more money to do it with.
Mm-hmm.
But
It's a bad movie.
Yeah.
It really is, but it's entertaining. And you know, if you like musicals, it's going to be right up your alley.
It's not quite one of those musicals where you have to rely on the songs to follow the story. They just add to it. But it is enjoyable. You know, I wouldn't rank it right up there with, you know, their best.
It's probably actually down the very bottom.
Oh, very, very bottom. But it's still enjoyable. It's still a good watch. You know,
at least one time. You should see it, especially if you're a fan of Trey in that.
Yeah.
So at least watch it to see where that came from. So.
Oh yeah.
So next week, I think it is, what was next? Orgasmo. So check back next week while we talk about a Mormon who is a porn star.
Oh, and I have to throw it in. They've apparently always had their obsession with Mormons, because it's in here too.
Oh yeah, the entire party is Mormons, and
it's it's actually a big part. With after the first mention, like, oh, they mentioned Mormons, and then no, they're all from Salt Lake City, and one of the people in the parties is a Mormon pastor that carries around a Bible and flashes it to everybody.
And not just a Bible, but the Book of Mormon.
The Book of Mormon.
Well, the Mormon's Bible.
Yeah, yeah.
And
it's always been there.
If you've seen that episode of South Park, what was it called? Was it Here Come the Mormons?
I don't remember. I know which episode you're talking about, but I don't remember.
But it's the episode where the Mormon family moves to town, and they're happy all the time. Upbeat and happy all the time.
Yeah.
Well, that's what this party is for a lot of the movie.
Especially this one guy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Always finding the positive things, even when they've just got done eating somebody.
Mm-hmm.
So.
All right.
There you go. Thank you for watching.
Bless the